Sunday morning, May 15th, 2022, about 6:15 or so a.m. Looking at the adventure course. All the snow has melted, finally. May 15th. Snow melted here last week or so, week before. We come out here and do some major cleanup work to the adventure course. Looking pretty rallied at the moment. Lots of leaves on the ground, lots of sticks on the ground. After the snow cleared away. This whole section right here I plan on tearing out this year. This whole little straight section of rock that used to be kind of countersunk, but it's getting filled in with runoff and things of that nature. So I'm going to elevate this section and bring it up where it's ending right there. I'm going to turn it this way and bring it out into this area and bring it between these trees and back over to the over-under log bridge area right there, which is one of the first obstacles on the course. Well, first over-under bridge on the course, put it that way. First obstacle was a rocky switchback right here. It was the very first thing that I did when this was just nothing but a dirt hillside. Nothing else was here. It's kind of a natural little dish in this area. And I started making that switchback. I didn't measure. Absolutely no measurements for turning radius on vehicles when I did that. Before I had my TRX4 Bronco, back when it was just the TF2 out here for the most part, and the twin hammers and WL toys and whatnot. Yeah, a little tough making it through some of those switchbacks. I was going to build an over-under rock bridge right over there on the other side of that over-under log bridge. That was a plan about 2 years ago. And never got around to it last year. Man, it was just a, I don't know, soggy year. Mother Nature was really socking it to us with the rain. So the game plan was to build another over-under rock bridge right here underneath the over-under log bridge. There's our rock topper for it right there. It's about 6 to 8 inches thick, right around 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, give or take. And that was going to be the top on the bridge. So plans have changed. I think I'm going to take all those rocks and this whole over-under bridge idea and move it elsewhere. Maybe move it over here on the other side of the course, where I was planning on ripping out that corner and redesigning that area over there. Here's a peek at the railroad ties. That's what we were getting stuck in with the Blizzard and the Trail King on the last few videos that we did. Picture that little divider wall there that we were kind of climbing up and over as we were heading up these rocks here, up this gravelly hillside. So it gives you an idea of what we were climbing up with the Kyosho Trail King and the Midnight Blizzard. This whole area was kind of filled in with snow, and those landscape lights were getting pulled out of their locators or whatever, and falling down the hill. So yeah, once again, normally we don't crawl on that side of the hill. This area right here, I might widen this up a pinch over here. Pretty tight, trying to negotiate that corner coming down in. It kind of drops down into this little dished out area and it comes back up around the corner. So I might widen that up a pinch over on this side. Might do a little work over here. We'll see. This whole area down here, well, you know, plans have been changing back and forth on this. We did have a sand pit right in here where all these leaves are. And it's kind of the bottom of the course. So everything kind of settles down here. So we're thinking about putting in a pond liner, or that's kind of my idea, is to put a pond liner in this area. And I don't know, maybe see if we can retain some water and do some kind of a water feature there. I've already got the pond liner. Had it for about 3 years now, actually. Just had it sitting up in the house for the last 3 years, and initially, I don't know, I was planning on putting it up here, or up by Prometheus way up at the top up there. But yeah, plans have changed over the years. So I don't know. Maybe we'll put it down here. See the wet spots on the ground. That's where everything kind of settles when it rains. This whole area will flood out. So maybe that's the best spot for it down there. I'm not too sure. Yeah. Secret plans, hidden plans for the future. If I do put a pond liner down here, probably shouldn't be talking about this. But, we got this long stretch of hill leading up towards Old Stump up there. And I wouldn't mind, I used to be a landscaper for a period of time. I did a bunch of water gardens and things like that, rivers and such. So I wouldn't mind putting a pond down here with a little retention pond area and a pump on the side with a pickup, like a little overflow pump. And then pump the water up to the top of the hill and have a river coming down the hill back down to this retention pond area at the bottom. And then just be able to climb up the river, you know. It'd be kind of cool. A little retention pond at the top with like a waterfall or something, and pump the water down and pick it back up here and pump it back up to the top again. So that's just an idea for the future. It'd be a real pain in the butt to keep up on it with maintenance, falling down leaves and sand and all that other stuff. So it'd have to be kind of built up on the sides a little bit with rock on either side. So I'd have to build it up just to make sure that nothing could get into the trough. At least no runoff other than falling leaves. Nothing coming in from left or right from the rain. Alright, so anywho, here's a peek at the track. Once again, need to get out here with the leaf blower and clean all this crap off. Need to do that first before we can actually do any kind of construction. Up here, as I'm walking past it, or over under Log Bridge area. So I was just talking about this at the beginning of the video. So this has been up here for, I don't know, 4.5, 5 years now. This is probably like year 5, I think, or season number 5. And the sides are caving in on the log bridge here. The pond, it does have a plastic liner in there, but it's started leaking last year, the year before, so it doesn't retain water anymore. So we're gonna have to redo that whole little area here. So we're gonna join this area into that corner down there at the bottom that's all countersunk. So we're gonna raise up that corner, kind of snake it up this way, probably expand this entire area through here. Maybe rock it out a little bit more leading up to the entranceway, the podium over there. And we'll rock out this corner just a little bit more. And then redesign this bridge. So probably not going to have that over under log bridge anymore. We might take that over under rock bridge from the other side of the course over there, move it over here, and reassemble it on this side. Not too sure just yet. Once again, all plans, you know. Parking lot on the course. This is unfinished as well. We're going to put some cobblestone in here or river rock in here. Egg rock. And never got around to it. Natural podium. That thing is holding up good. I don't know if this is like year 3 with that podium on there. Definitely outlasted the original podium, which was made out of plywood. And this one was just made out of logs that I found in the woods. Kind of nailed together, screwed together, and voila, there she is. This area, it's a little plain Jane. I like the woodwork around the sides. That's what she said. I like the way that we've got everything all kind of tied off there. It looks pretty cool. Using the sticks as for retainers. But the sticks are breaking, so we need to do something about that. Maybe change it out for rock. I don't know. You know, rock's permanent, but don't want to go overboard with rock on everything. So kind of need to change it up a little bit here and there. Keeping it real, keeping it scale, other than the landscape lights that really ruins everything. Heading up towards Prometheus, which is seriously eroded. Lost a lot of material on that one since we built it. Our little log crossing here. Our over under rock bridge, over under log bridge. This corner over here needs some work. We need to touch it up. To me, it's just a little bit bland as how we go around the tree there. Need to do something there. So probably add some rocks. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Need to do something with this corner as well. And same with this one leading up to our log crossing. Need to kind of jazz this up a little bit more as well. I've already started gathering rocks this year. Got a little bit more stockpile going on up here. Stuff that I gathered since the tree cutter came through. Some stuff was floating on the surface. A lot of this stuff right here I had last year, so this stuff is here. But all this stuff up on the top there and those rocks over on the side, those are new. A lot of sand runoff right here. It's coming down the hill. It's natural white beach sand, which is odd for seeing in northern Michigan. Something that you would see like in Panama City Beach, Florida. That kind of sand. Starting at damage area. I'd like to widen this area up a little bit. But, you know, that's just according to people that run on it, other than myself. Consensus say is widen it up a little bit more. So we'll go with the consensus and do that here this year as well. This area along here, this needs to be finished as well, tying it into that little gap going in between the trees. So we're going to rock out around that corner, or that's my game plan, or that was my game plan, and just kind of rock into here and tie this in a little bit more. I'm not going to go solid rock like I have in the past. It's just solid rocks butted up together, and then carving out the landscape beforehand, and then laying in the rocks around the areas that I carved out with the shovel. Instead of doing that, I think I'm going to gap them out a little bit more and maybe countersink some big boulders into the hills and try to make it look a little bit more natural instead of just like a solid rock path. Yeah, so we've got all the rocks separated. This stuff down here is like, you know, court kitty size, 6-inch diameter, I guess, and getting larger. This one's like 9 inches wide. Some 3-inch rock, river rock over on the side, flat stones stacked up around the stump. This is all new stuff that we got this year, or that I picked up this year. Oh, these guys are all new down here. They're pretty big. That's like a size 12 tennis shoe. They're pretty big. Chunk of bluestone. Yeah, I got this one off the power line after the tree digger came through. It's kind of rare finding bluestone up here in this area. I don't normally see ledge rock like that. Kind of like a flagstone. See that more in the UP, but not so much where we're at. So yeah, these are our rocks that we got this year. This big green bugger right here. That thing's a monster. Nice rock right here. A lot of quartz in the rocks up here. I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. A lot of quartz in these rocks. It's a nice rock. Good texture on it. Good for climbing. A couple pieces that are like shelves. Be nice rock to place somewhere. One over here I got last year. Kind of the pride and joy. This one's like a rooftop. It's flat on the bottom. It comes up to a peak on either side, and it's flat on either side. It's like Fred Flintstone's roof, if he had a peaked roof on his house instead of a flat roof. Super smooth, incredibly smooth. Has these little dips in it and contours to it, but super slick and extremely dense. Very heavy rock for what it is. But yeah, it's shaped like a rooftop. Pretty cool. I can't wait to place that somewhere. I think I'm going to use that on a course for the SCX 24s. I think it's more scaled for the SCX 24s, so that's probably what I'll use that rock for. One of the lines on the course that we use for the, or that are intended for the SCX 24, which is like this little side line here running up to the side of the sandhill. This is a path that is intended for the SCX 24s. And we haven't ran on it as of yet. So it should be a fun path, all rock. A couple trilliums I see sprouted up in the middle of the path. They weren't there when I put the path in, I can tell you that. Or maybe they were, and they just sprouted. They only pop up every so many years, so they were probably there before I put that rock in. And then this path here is supposed to be leading out into the woods for a new trail. Once again, haven't gotten around to doing that as of yet. This is a rock that I pulled out of the ground last year before, maybe 2 years ago. A lot of quartz, once again, big quartz veins right there, running through this rock, all these little white veins, just layers and layers of quartz. A lot of metallic in it. I don't have the flash on the camera currently. There's a lot of metallic in those rocks. A lot of unique rocks, really. This rock right here, believe it or not, not very big. Not a big rock. But man, oh man, is that thing heavy. Oh my goodness. That is a heavy rock. I mean, that's like 20 pounds. This little rock right here. Ooh, 20 pounds. That is a heavy rock. Very dense. There's another one right here, which is pretty heavy for what it is. See rust in it. A lot of iron in that rock. Which is another thing that's synonymous for the UP. And we're not in the UP. Northern Michigan. Northwest Michigan. That's another heavy rock. Very dense. Very small. Heavy for its size. Maybe it's a chunk of meteorite. Who knows? Extremely heavy rock, though. That is for darn sure. Looking at our sand hill. Yeah, a little overgrown. Stuff growing up out of the hill. A couple of trilliums right there. Those 3 leafers. Those are trilliums. Just no flowers on them. A couple more rocks. You know what? Just to break off the point here. This rock right here I dug up. This is wild. That's a handprint in this rock. I am not kidding you. That's meant for the right hand. It's like somebody picked this up years ago when it was still mud. All flat on one side. Some rust in it, some iron. But yeah, it's got finger grooves right there. That is crazy. So those were put there probably millions of years ago, I'd imagine, right? However long it took to turn that chunk of mud into a rock. This one here is another one that's very interesting. I found this in a flower bed out in the front yard of the house up here, doing some digging, and this was buried where we have a flower bed. So the flower bed was built on the surface of the ground, never really dug too far down in that area. So yeah, we dug this up out of there. And obviously signs of where a rope was strung through this hole here. Little wear mark right there. Where a rope was pulled through. Another little hole here on the side. Little flat spot right here. Kind of wedge shaped. It almost, initially you would think it was a small boat anchor. Like a stone boat anchor. But from what I looked up online, Irish potato farmers from the early 1800s, or late 1800s, one or the other, used these for plowing a field. They would tie a rope through either end like this, and this would get pulled behind a horse in this direction. And the farmer would stand on the back of here with his heel and put pressure on the back and kind of ride it like a surfboard through the sand. So that's what this is. So yeah, that's an interesting little find. I just dug it up out of the yard. A plowstone, I believe is what that's called. So there we go. Another interesting find. Yeah, it's interesting. Is it as interesting as this? I don't know. Fingerprints on a rock, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool little find right there. Old stump. Almost looks like the Devil's Tower, really. You know, looking at that old beech or birch pine stump. So that's an old birch, gold-colored bark. Yeah, it looks a little bit like the Devil's Tower. Not too sure what we're going to do with this area. Probably just trim it up a little bit. Clean up the weeds, a little cabin over there, which is the one that my niece made a few years ago. Man, that thing has stood the test of time. I can't believe it. It looks like an old 1800s or Old West jail cell. But out of all the cabins, that one has stood the test of time. Made it through a few winters now. My cabin over here, which was much more fancy, did not stand the test of time and collapsed. So yeah, the basic of basic cabins is still standing. So yeah, this area, I'm not too sure. We'll trim it out maybe, put some rock around the outside. I don't know what I want to do with that. You get too much rock around the outside that stand up, you know. Like this stuff over here on the side, it kind of stands up a little bit. It makes it difficult for low angle filming. Because you get your camera down low like this, and then you got a rock in your way, and it's blocking the bottom half of your truck. So that kind of ruins things a little bit, you know. So it's a lot easier if the rock sections are kind of elevated, like this area right here. So you kind of catch the vehicle rolling across, and dirt below on the side. So this little section is elevated, a lot easier to film versus trying to film over a rock wall, essentially. Like dropping down into these pits leading up to that over-under rock bridge and log bridge. Difficult to film in there as well, just because of the pit itself is 15 to 18 inches deep. So it's hard to get the camera down in that pit when the truck's down in there. Truck rolls down in like this, and you know, you can't drop the camera over that edge. You know, it's kind of difficult to film. So yeah, it's better to have the rock sections elevated versus having something sunk in when it comes to filming. Over on the rock bridge, this area here leading up to the storm damage, still kind of unfinished. Need to finish connecting this area a little bit better. Have it leading into this elevated corner, which I tear up with the excavators every once in a while, and turns around this tree and comes back down the other side and goes through this little switchback and back around this hill over on the other side. But that all, you kind of get lost. You get lost in the sand. You lose the path as you come around this corner and go up the edge of this hill. So those corners and things need to be a little bit more defined. And once again, these are countersunk into the ground. In order to really define them, we need to elevate them. So everything really needs to be elevated, essentially. And that would help us get past erosion issues as well. This area right here, that drop down corner, coming around the teeter-totter, that's another area difficult to film as it drops in around this corner. And once again, spots that are countersunk, you have to deal with a lot of erosion and stuff building up on the course, just because it's a pocket and it holds material. So there we go. Yeah, a little overview on everything. Early morning overview. Maybe that's what we'll title the video. Early morning overview. I haven't been to bed yet, and the sun is just coming up. Yeah, kind of ruins my day now, doesn't it? Yeah, so we need to do some work around here. This hill needs to be touched up a little bit. Something's missing there. Maybe countersink some boulders in, add some more material, build it up a little bit higher, a little bit wider. Trim out the sides. Wraps around this tree here. Needs to be cleaned up and more defined. And this section right here, this big gap section, just basically a series of hills leading down to the lower portion of the course. So that all needs to be touched up as well. I like to do a lot more expanding on the course and add more course to the course. Of course. Take it further out into the woods. So that is the plan eventually here. And once again, I'm sitting on 10 acres. It's not a lot of property, but it's a decent amount of property. And we can pretty much go any direction we want with this course. So we might take it up into the woods a little bit further and make it just a wee bit larger. We have lots of property. We're kind of in the back side yard. The front yard is bigger than the backyard in all reality. Our property is kind of shaped like a piece of pizza. A lot of frontage, or a slice of pizza I should say. A lot of frontage, and it kind of gets narrower towards the back. It doesn't come to a point, but it gets narrower. If I were to describe our property, it's kind of has a whole bunch of frontage like that. and kind of comes back to a square, a rectangle. It's about 150 feet across back here. We have 10 acres property, and we've got a ton of frontage. The road that goes through our property association, everybody's property goes to the middle of the road. So our property goes to the middle of the road, which goes around the edge of our property. And the neighbor's property on the other side goes to the middle of the road as well. So the road is pretty much cut down the power line, or down the property line, not the power line. So everybody's property goes to the middle of the road, technically. And ours is kind of shaped like a piece of pizza. So we got a whole bunch of frontage. I mean, it's like a ton of frontage. So we've got lots of room for courses out front as well. That was the moral of that story. Yeah, I'd almost like to build a separate micro crawler course. But at the same time, I don't want it too far away from the main adventure course. Just in case we do get to that day when we do start inviting the public out here on a regular basis. Like open the place up to the public. I kind of want to keep people in a designated area. I don't really want anybody really wandering off into the woods up here. Safety purposes, it's very easy to get lost up here. So yeah, nevertheless, crawler course. Talking about building a separate one out there in the front yard. There's a real good area over there. Sweet natural area, little cove in the trees, and a little gap in between the trees where you could drive the trucks underneath the roots and whatnot. Real sweet area. It's choice. But once again, kind of far from the adventure course, and I'd like to keep all the action back in this area if possible, if I can. We talked about building a short course track. And yeah, you know, I've got big plans. My eyes are always bigger than my stomach when it comes to stuff like this. But we've got another hillside right here, this big hillside, and there is a couple trails going through the trees. And you know, you can't see the forest through the trees, but there is a couple open paths going through there that are perfect for a short course track. It would be a very large short course track. But all we really need to do is go in there with a chainsaw and accentuate the path, just make it a little bit wider. I like to have it like 16 to 18 feet wide if possible. Less likely to bounce your vehicle off of a tree. Build a podium somewhere up on this hillside. That's what this trailer frame is sitting off to the side for, right there, that steel frame. That is going to be the decking for the podium. So that is why that is sitting over there. And I'd like to bring the course right down into this clearing area, kind of where that dirt pile is. And then circle back around to where that roll of metal is and go back up into the woods. So move all that stuff out of the way. And just make this into a long sweeping turn, coming out of the woods and going back into the woods from that opening to this opening. And it's kind of leaning downhill, so it'd be a nice little sliding turn as you come around the corner and make your way back uphill. Yeah, and there's a couple of natural paths that kind of wind their way up to the top of that ridge line, which is way out there. There's a ridge line. And on the other side of the ridge line, it drops back down into another valley similar to this. So literally, if you had a clean line of sight and cleared out enough trees, you could build a podium at the top of the hill, right on that ridge line, and have the track come down into this valley and around back up over top of that ridge line, down into the next valley, turn around and come back up and back over the other side. Not too sure how long the batteries would last on that, though. I know my Losi 10 running a VXL Volinian 3S brushless system in it on 3S with a 5200 milliamp 3S battery, 50C withdrawal rate. It burns through the battery pretty quick. Probably less than 20 minutes before the ESC starts running on half power, or starts cutting the power down. So not a real long runtime with that. So I guess with the idea of a short course truck is, you know, to have a short course track and to keep that short course track relatively short. So maybe we won't go too big with it. It's just big enough to keep it interesting. So we've got a nice little hillside here. It kind of goes up a hill, flattens out, and goes up another little hill. A couple little trails winding through the woods once again. Just need to get in there and accentuate that stuff a little bit. They're pretty wide right now. Once again, you really can't see the forest through the trees. But there is some decent gaps in between these trees. Like in between these guys here. It's a good 16 feet between these guys. So, yeah, just need to widen some of this stuff up a little bit. A lot of this stuff is wide enough that I can actually drive my Jeep through here. Some pretty wide gaps, really. Little path coming through here. Rock. A little path going right up through here. It's got some nice little moguls in it going up the hill, which are difficult to see, but they're there. And there's another path similar to this a few feet to the left over here, and a few more going up this way. So, and another path going right down this side, all the way through here and right up the ridge line, which you can't see through the trees, but it's there. I can drive my Jeep through it once again. So yeah, I just need to come in here and widen some of this stuff up just a wee bit more. Big path going right through here. Once again, from out there, you can't see it. We've got these laneways going through the woods. We just need to open them up a little bit more. And the sun is coming up. Back half of the adventure course. In the rough. We are definitely in the rough right now. That was another plan, was to build an offshoot coming off the back of the sandhill way up there. By that back half of that little tree stump there. And bring it out into the woods. And take it up that way. And then snake it around and bring it back this way. And connect it somewhere down here, like way off the line, just an offshoot going off into the woods, and then, you know, from that point in time, just make little side trails, interconnecting trails going from one end to the other, almost like a real trail network for trucks up in the northern woods, except scaled down for little trucks. Cleanups would be a pain in the butt, dealing with all these leaves. I tell you what, maintenance on that natural section would be continuous. And there we are, back on the back half of the adventure course. Lower portion. Claps cabin up there, old stump way up there. Back half of the Devil's Tower. Somebody had mentioned at one point in time that I should make a micro course around this tree right here. That's a good idea. That tree right there. It has some cool stuff, some cool features. It do. A couple little chipmunk homes right there beyond that light. But some cool features to the tree, that is for sure. Very buildable. Make something up through there. Little road coming up to the top, right up into here, and drive down and in between the tree. It's a pretty big gap up there. Definitely big enough for an SCX-24, that is for sure. So we could definitely build something around this tree. Once again, somebody had mentioned that. Do a little tree hugging here as I go around the corner. A little down slope there. Yes, we could definitely do something with that. Once again, we are making a path for the SCX-24s, kind of going around the outskirts, or going around some of the tougher obstacles. The SCX-24s are fun on the full-size course, that is for sure. They are a lot of fun on this course. But some of the obstacles that we can't get past, we're trying to make separate trails for the SCX-24s. And that log bridge area is definitely one of those areas that we can't get past. So maybe a little offshoot coming off of here, leading up to this tree area. We'll make something custom in here with the SCX-24s before they make their way up the hill. Yeah, future note. Yeah, maybe we'll do something with that. Alright, well there we go. Overview of the course. We are standing in the middle of it. Big mess. Big mess. 12-foot teeter-totter. In case any newcomers were wondering how long that thing is, that is 12 feet. And a pretty good incline. I'm not sure on the degree on that. You know, a lot of people like to show their vehicles climbing up insanely steep hills, like ridiculously steep hills. And I gotta tell you, you know, if you got a spare tire hanging off the back of your vehicle, a full-size spare tire hanging off the back, it seriously diminishes on what you can climb up. Or seriously decreases. Not too sure what the angle is on that. 38, maybe. Not quite 40 degree, that is for sure. 35 degree maybe. Not very sure on that angle. It's pretty strong though as it gets to the top. I'm holding the camera level right now, perfectly level to the background. According to the level gauge on the center of my screen, this is completely level. So just kind of panning from right to left or left to right. Sorry, balancing here is a little shaky. So I'm not too sure on the degree on that guy. But it is pretty steep for what it is, and traction is a premium. We've got little hash marks or cross hatches or cross cuts cut onto the beam for traction. But they are pine 2x4s, treated pine. And yeah, it gets slick when it's wet. A lot easier getting traction up here with these closer cuts. Down here where the cuts start to get a little bit further apart towards the bottom, it's tough to get traction. It's very tough getting traction at the base as you start to get further up, which is almost a full vehicle length, about 20 inches up before you get into a high traction area, which is leading all the way up to the rest of up to the top. So I've got these cross hatches real close together from yeah, about the 18-inch mark, leading all the way up to the top. But that bottom part, trying to get traction down there can be very difficult. Sometimes you got to get a bit of a run at it before you go up the hill. A lot of sand down here at the base. And this is really packed down. There's actually a brick road underneath this stuff. So this is stuff that's just a bunch of runoff that's filled in that area. So that needs to be dug out a little bit. There we go. Looking at the back half of the course once again. Another heavy rock. This guy right here, very dense. Big rock. Very solid. Solid. More quartz veins running through rocks. Natural holes in the rocks. Red rocks, blue rocks, green rocks. Colorful rocks. Rocks with carvings in them or natural formations. Like this one right here. Big groove in the rock. Almost looks like a triangle or a pyramid if you get it at the right angle. Almost looks like a pyramid. Kind of natural indentation or formation on it. High traction rock. Yep, there we go. Tombstone section right there, you know, that's a love-hate relationship. A lot of people avoid this section like the plague. Doesn't look very good on the course as far as scale things go. Just not very fitting, I suppose. I don't know, maybe the brick isn't so fitting in general, but these clay bricks that are planted in the ground like tombstones at various angles. Yeah, love-hate relationship right there. I know my brother definitely doesn't like going through that section, and a lot of newcomers don't like it either. Some people will try it, for sure. Everybody wants to try it, but it can be very deadly on your vehicle. No rhyme or reason with the bricks. They are all planted in at different angles, and they're axle snaggers. I mean, you will get snagged up in here, something fierce. Snag up your pumpkins, get your front axle cleared, and then your back axle gets snagged up on something like this in between here, where your pumpkin's pressed up against here, and your drive shaft scraping on the top of the brick. Look at the axle snagged right here. Yeah, it can be a nightmare, that area. So yeah, not too sure what we want to do with that. I like it for the fact that it's kind of a great equalizer, you know. A good separator right there. But yeah, it can be damaging to your vehicle if you don't know when to say when with the throttle when you're going through that little tombstone section. And our section on storm damage, real storm damage, is for the tree came down last year and landed on the course and buckled all these logs and just kind of threw them up out of whack. Kind of laid all the way across this way and went all the way up to the log bridge. Actually took out a couple of logs on the base of the bridge, broke them. So they're still there. They're holding in, but they're not in the best of shape. And that was that big birch tree right here, which was, man, 100-foot tree easily. And the top broke out of it and landed on the course. And there's some remnants of it right here. I just hauled the other remnants of it away earlier, well, yesterday afternoon, I should say, with the tractor. And we had another one that fell right here, another big birch, another monster. That, well, it didn't fall. We cut that down with the chainsaw, but it had some, had a broken limb about 60 feet up. It was dangling over top of the course and just waiting to fall on somebody's head. So we cut that one down for safety purposes. There we go. There we go once again. How many times did I say that? Looking at the course from afar. Looking down into the valley. And there is our podium / entranceway. Not many people know it, but there's that entranceway. It goes all the way up through the woods up here, snakes down on the other side of that trailer there, and back to the back half of the barn. So we actually got a beach sand path going through the woods up there that leads all the way up to the entrance. And looking down in the valley. We do shoot firearms occasionally from time to time. I have a target kind of set up there, a satellite dish at the end of the valley here. It is a 74-meter mark. And beyond that hemlock tree that's in the woods over there, way beyond that, there's a 100-meter mark. And there's a big hillside back there. So kind of shooting into a hillside. I'd like to open up another laneway right in between these blue spruces, or Douglas firs down there. So we have one laneway right there. I want to open up another one right here. And then reserve this other half for the short course track. Excuse me. Throat is getting dry. And then we're shooting from way up here, beyond this other little hemlock tree. So from right back here, pretty much lined up with this tree, if we get down looking at that target way down yonder there, that satellite dish, that is 74 or, yeah, 78 meters. 78 meters to that satellite dish. And then beyond that hemlock, there's a 100-meter mark on a tree way out there that you can't see, but it's there. So yes, occasionally we do shoot some firearms up here. I've been into guns as long as I've been into RCs. I've always loved guns, as long as I can remember. I'm not a hunter. I don't go out and hunt anything, but I like guns. What can I say? Big video gamer from way back in the day, and always loved firearms since I was a kid. Loved RCs since I was a kid. Been working on RCs, wow, as long as I can remember. That is the truth. My dad taught me how to solder wires when I was 4 years old. That is no BS. Back in the 70s, 1978, back when parents were a little bit less cautious, I guess. And I was one of those kids that was taking things apart, you know, and not only was I taking them apart, but I was actually taking them apart, laying everything out, like laying out every little screw in the order that I took it out in, off to the side, so I knew exactly where it went. Things that were broken, I'd take them apart and I would literally fix them and put them back together. This is known. It is known, that is for sure. Known throughout my family, that is for darn sure. And so my dad kind of picked up on that real early and taught me how to solder wires when I was 4 years old. And yeah, it was on like Donkey Kong. Then he got me in my first RC car when I was 4 years old. And, or maybe shortly before, when I was like 3 years old. Because some of the wire soldering was on that RC car. I believe it was a Radio Shack car. It was a Cobra Mustang. Ran on 6 C-cell batteries and 2 9-volts. 1 9-volt in the car and 1 9-volt in the transmitter. It was a fun little car. And I broke it and fixed it a few times. Alright, there we go, boys and girls. Early morning tour on the adventure course. Coming up to the barn, the old Ford truck. The refrigerated trailer, or what's inside the refrigerated trailer, you ask? There's really nothing in there. That's just storage for the most part. Furniture storage. I mean, we put patio furniture in there, and there's some other knick-knack and BS in there. Really nothing, nothing spectacular. I'm sure it's on everybody's mind, though. What's inside the trailer, man? Yeah, there you go. Some chairs in there. The old macrame owl, you know? The famous owl that everybody's got hanging up on the wall. Is that an orb? Just flew off that? Or dust? I'm not too sure. Not recreating it. I don't see anything flying up on it now. Seeing if I can recreate what I thought was an orb flying up off of that. Some kitchen chairs, you know, a swing seat here, some boxes, some nicer furniture. Some Canadian furniture. That is a Duncan Fife chair set right there. And a Duncan Fife table in the house that belonged to my grandmother. Some old stuff. Yeah, there we go. You seen inside the trailer. Nothing special. Not hiding nothing in there. That's for darn sure. No grows going on. Don't have a grow going on in there. Here's our secret path that leads out to the adventure course. The back way in, which is covered in leaves, but yeah, there we go. Winds up through the trees here and drops down across and over to the adventure course. Reefer trailer still has the generator on the front for the cooling system. Yeah, a little 3-cylinder diesel up there. Need to salvage that for something. I'm sure it's usable. Old Ford truck. You know, I'm surprised nobody's ever asked me about this truck. I know if I was checking out somebody else's channel and I seen like an old truck or something sitting in the background, I would ask about it. I'd be like, hey, you know, that's a cool looking truck. What year is that? This is not a cool looking truck. But, you know, somebody else's channel, if I seen something sitting in their yard, I would definitely ask about it. That's just the kind of person I am. But nobody's asked about this truck, and I'm really surprised. That makes me wonder. Nevertheless, this is a 1959 Ford F100 Custom Cab. I bought this truck back in 1997, I want to say, 97 or 98. And it was just a truck, just a rolling chassis. And I bought this off of a guy downstate, off of Benstein Road in Moberly Lake, Michigan. And I paid $500 and a load of gravel. $500 and 6 yards of gravel, so basically $625 for the truck. It's pretty solid. It's a solid truck. Original metal throughout. I didn't paint it. Don't judge me. It's whatever paint was on it, man. So that's what it is. What it is. It was 4-wheel drive, and then I made the mistake of turning it into a 2-wheel drive vehicle. Should have left it 4-wheel drive. Had a divorce transfer case in it. Turns out that was worth money. And I sold it to a place called Jeff's Bronco Graveyard. And they knew it was worth money. And I think they gave me like $50 for it or something. And it was perfect. It was a good working transfer case. A divorced transfer case where it's separated from the transmission. So it had one of those in there. And it was, the truck came 4-wheel drive. It was a manual. It had a flathead V8 in it at one point in time. No motor in it when I got it. No transmission in it when I bought it. I put a solid axle in it out of a 62 Ford F100, I think. This one's a 59. Solid axles out of the 62. Disc brakes on the front, which is off of a Delta 88, I want to say, or a Caprice or something like that. It was a disc brake conversion kit. Has a corporate 14-bolt rear axle on it, so a 1-ton rear axle. Yeah, corporate 14-bolt, not very fitting for a Ford truck to have a GM axle on there, but that is a big old bugger right there. 14-bolt, 1-ton. We got dual exhaust on this guy, stainless steel, 3-inch exhaust. That exhaust is, man, that exhaust was on the truck when I bought it, believe it or not. That was made at Monty's Exhaust Shop on Dixie Highway, downstate. Not too sure where Monty's is at, if that's in Waterford, where it's at exactly. But that is a custom exhaust, stainless steel, all welded from front to back. Back of the vehicle, blue dots in the tail lights. Yep, classic truck. Tailgate, that's something that I had to find for the vehicle. It didn't have a tailgate on it. But a little junkyard hopping, we got a tailgate for it. Bumper, that is not stock. That's for sure. Not the stock bumper. All the glass is factory, though. That is all stock. It is a custom cab. You see behind the folding mirrors. Little lock covers. Look at these little guys. And they're spring-loaded, and they still work. This is 1959 technology. Not only is the chrome still chrome, but they still work. Gas tank behind the seat. And that is still behind the seat. No smoking, please. Original glass. Let's shut off the flash while we look at the original glass. Yes, it is severely fractured. You can tell it's that original glass. Little seam in between where it was kind of bonded together. Wrap around windshield. Very expensive. Windshield was cracked on the truck when I bought it. So that's how I know it's a very expensive. Opposing windshield wipers. Pretty cool. Nice little feature on the truck. It is an ugly truck, but hey, at least it's got that going for it. Lights on the roof. Some yo-yo put those on there. I don't know who did that. Should be 5 lights on the roof, not how many they got up there? 6 lights. Yeah, goofball. Yep, there she is. Front of the vehicle. We've got a T-Bird emblem on the front. Anybody pick up on that? And that is off of a 1967 Ford Thunderbird. Oil cooler back there, trans cooler back there. There's a big oil cooler there, another trans cooler right back there behind it. Radiator has been punched out. The radiator used to have a built-in oil cooler on it. And I took this up to Commerce Radiator in Commerce Township. And I had them punch out that oil cooler and turn it into part of the radiator. And then core up the radio, add as many cores of the radiator as they possibly could for extra cooling. It's early in the morning. I would pop the hood on this thing. It's very noisy. Popping the hood on it, and I don't want to wake up everybody in the house. But this has a 390 big block out of a 1967 Ford Thunderbird. I recovered the motor from my buddy's house. It was sitting in his backyard. The car was rotting away in a swamp. Trees growing up around it on either side. It was sitting back there for so long. And I got a tow truck over there, and they pulled it out of the swamp, or out of the out of the woods, I guess. And the back end was so rotted on it that the rear axle rolled out from underneath the car, and it peeled the inside of the trunk out with it like a sardine can. Just stripped the whole back of the car off. So yeah, but the engine was still good, so I had it all pressure checked and yada yada yada. Put a lot of money into it. I built that in 1998. And I put around $4,600 into it, which is a lot of money, especially in 1998. And it's a full roller motor. It has roller rockers on it. One of the first 390s, I believe, to have roller rockers. And those are made by Competition Cams. I called around. Nobody had rockers when I was building that motor. And I called Summit Racing, and I called Jegs. And I can't remember who it was, if it was Summit or Jegs, but one of them put me in touch with Competition Cams directly. And then Competition Cams put me in touch with another company called Dove Enterprises, which is like a machine shop that does work for them. And they made me a custom set of lifters and or a custom set of rockers and the shafts that the rockers ride on. The roller rockers on this engine ride on a shaft very similar to a Dodge motor. So roller rockers and shafts, and this very may well be the first 390 FE to have it. They didn't have them in summer racing or jigs beforehand, and after I got them for this truck, they did. So if you're building a 390 Ford motor, and you're looking for roller rockers, and you're getting some Competition Cam roller rockers, hey, you can thank me for that one. Yeah, this is a 390 FE, and the FE, what's that stand for? Well, a lot of people say effing expensive, because it's probably one of the more expensive motors to build if you're going to build a motor. So that motor put out 400 horsepower and I want to say, no pun, 420 foot-pounds of torque in 1967. And right now it's putting out right around 500, 550 horsepower and right around 600 foot-pounds of torque. It's been bored over, 80 over, the 390 bored 80 over, and Edelbrock Performer RPM intake, 700 CFM Edelbrock carburetor, dual roller timing chain. It's all all top of the line chromoly push rods. Once again, the roller rockers, Myladin deep sump oil pan. I got an 8-quart rear sump pan, and a 7-quart front sump for this vehicle. Wasn't too sure what I was going to use, a front sump or the rear sump. Ended up going with the front sump. So I've got an 8-quart rear sump sitting around for this with the pump and the pickup, or at least the pickup for the pump. So yeah, plans change as you're building things. Once again, costs a lot of money to build that motor. Mallory Unilite photo optic distributor system, MSD 6A ignition, painless wiring system or wiring harness throughout the thing. You could put power windows in this vehicle if you wanted to, at least with the wiring harness. A lot of custom work on the inside that was done by myself. Once again, flash on, but so we're getting a lot of reflection. Grant GT steering wheel on the inside. Probably the nicest thing about the truck is that steering wheel. I think it's mahogany or something like that. Anywho, yeah, there we go. There's a look of the old truck. 1959 F100. Nobody's asked about it, but there you go. That's what she looks like. Pictures. There we go. There is the motor right there. I built that downstate. Right there is the motor. 390 FE. Myladin 8-quart rear sump oil pan on it. Mallory Unilite photo optic distributor. A lot of money into that guy. Look at the front of the motor. Our double roller timing chain. Looking at our valve springs, dual springs, 3-angle grind on the valves and heads. Heads were done up to 428 Cobra Jet specs. Look at the block. After it was pulled from the swamp and reconditioned and repainted, I did that all myself. Well, I didn't recondition it myself. I took that to Glendale Auto in Farmington Hills, and they did all that nonsense. There's a look at our roller rockers. Competition Cam roller rockers. Once again, they sit on a shaft like a Dodge. Motor. Look carefully, we can see our double springs. We might be able to see the double springs in there on all the valves. And we've got chromoly push rods. Custom trimmed at Kofel's Place or Koffel's Place off of Haggerty Road in well, Union Lake, Michigan, or Commerce, Michigan. Look at the rockers. Look at the motor from the other side. Hooker Super Competition ceramic coated headers. GM 1-wire alternator. Ford Cobra Le Mans valve covers. bee buzzing away up there. And there's the old truck right there when I first got it. That was a 4x4 once again. There are the hubs on the front. That's what it looked like when I first got it. And back to looking at the ugly old Ford truck again. She's a sleeper. Not quite farm truck. That is for darn sure. And that was not my goal either when I started building this truck. I didn't even know about farm truck. I don't know if farm truck knew about farm truck back in 1998 when I built this thing, or when I started building it. So yeah, there it is. It was supposed to be a 4x4. Now it's a two-wheel drive vehicle. A lot of horsepower, a lot of torque hiding underneath that hood, and ugly paint. She's definitely a sleeper in disguise. Once again, it's a solid vehicle. Relatively solid as far as the metal goes on it. Paint, yeah, that paint is nasty. But the flip-up door latches work great. And the chrome still looks halfway decent. A little bit pitted, but you know, what do you expect? It's a 1959. Alright, boys and girls, that is going to do it on this video. Our early morning track tour. And a look at the old Ford 1959 POS. And that is going to do it. Very much appreciate for y'all sticking around and watching the video. Once again, we got to go out here and get to work on this course. Get out there with the leaf blowers and clean all that nonsense off. And yeah, start getting some videos going and start doing some construction work out there. Construction work and videos. Not necessarily at the same time. Alright, boys and girls, that is going to do it. The sun is rising. RC After Dark is going to take a nap. And then maybe we'll come out here and do some more filming today. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks again.